Welcome to Naked Pixels. Short clips with advice from the Naked Texture Artist podcast, where my guests answer questions all artists struggle with. Enjoy. Do you have a technique or a formula or something that's sort of a rough guideline for how you attack an asset?
I would say I would copy something that somebody told me one day. So I was working with a dude one time and he told me, look, Manuel, the first thing you need to do when you get an asset is finish the modeling. I was like, what do you mean? Like modeling the thing? No. Break the surface with displacement and bump. Just break the spec, like put some rough, like bump and some, if you have displacement, and see how it reads, see how the IOR reads, see how the specular reads, and then start introducing color and other type of maps that are going to break things, coatings and dust and anything you want. But to me, that was a good tip, I would say, because a surface can read with any color, Of course, colors are super important, but the surface, from a look the point of view, needs to read, Is it too rough? Is it not rough enough? Is there too much breakup? Is there not enough breakup? Value change, softness change, There's so many things that are subtle, but that either make it or break it, that you can do. And, that's just my workflow. Some people like to start with diffuse and then go to the other maps, but, everybody have a different way of doing things.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I think when we were kids, we think painting is only about color.
Mm-hmm.
When you got like a crayon or whatever little kids are drawing with or painting with, or they are having those coloring books where they're filling in the drawings.
Yeah,
It's
that's
all
true.
it's all color, color, color. That's all we
Mm-hmm.
that's what we think that is all there is. But you're right. You're right. I see. I used to. Then I was taught that the spec map is the most valuable player, so to speak, of the team. But
Yeah,
then I heard a different story of that again. That was from the guy that did Thanos in Avengers Endgame.
cool.
Yeah, I mean, my goodness, if that was me, I would have a tattoo on my forehead.
That's a cool asset for sure.
Oh, absolutely. But he was saying how basically the reason why this displacement and bump is so important is because
Mhm.
in reality, there very rarely is any specular differences.
Absolutely.
We paint in specular differences, but really what they are, if you look at that surface in reality, it is
Yeah,
differences in bump and breakup,
exactly.
of bump and displacement. So start there, and then you will have much less need for all the other things.
Absolutely. That's, I mean, real life, that's, a surface. It has like a lot of micro, bumps, if you want,
Absolutely, yeah.
and the light gets trapped. And, if you look at from very close, concrete or anything, you're going to see that, of course, in a real surface, that you can see those bumps, Sometimes you try to fake that and push that and fake that with a reflection map, and then it somehow starts to look dirty, and the response of the reflection is not natural, So I would say if your surface reads clean and has a plausible range with just like displacement bump and IOR tweaks, then you move on to like other maps. That's when you're doing look diff and texturing. Because if you're just doing texturing, of course, you can just focus on getting like good ranges on the maps, and like that's a craft of itself. But I'm talking from a hybrid point of view, like you're doing both look diff and texturing for an asset. So yeah.
I must say, the moment when there was a point, there was one show where I was pretty much forced to do my own look dev,
Hmm.
and at first it feels uncomfortable if you're a texture artist. But after a while, you stop fearing it and you see what it brings to you. You now have the full picture of the surfacing, do you know?
Hmm.
You understand. And I think before that point, I was probably over texturing everything. I thought it needed textures on everything when it could be handled in the shader.
Yeah, no, I think that one of the things sometimes happens is too much dirt. Of course things are dirty, right? But just that grimy look that looks super CG, right? Like
Oh,
I think that happens. What happens is
That's what you did with the motorcycle, with the Ducati. It was just so subtle. It was so subtle. My goodness.
I would say, dude, like seriously, um, different IORs, like different reflections and different reflection responses, that very subtle coatings, are going to break a surface, like just a little bit of dust, a little bit of crunch, a little bit less glossy, a little bit more glossy, very subtle always. But that's when it's, moving and light is hitting it, you're going to see that reflection change. And that's what you want.
Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with us. We have a tiny bit of housekeeping to do on the way out. If this episode has been helpful to you, why not share the podcast with your colleagues and friends? If you'd like to support the podcast, I'd appreciate if you bought me a coffee. You can do that on Ko-fi. That is spelled ko-fi.com/The Naked Texture Artist. One word. If you have suggestions, comments, or questions, I'd love to hear them. Feel free to drop me a line on thenakedtextureartist@gmail.com. That is The Naked Texture Artist written out in all one word @gmail.com. As I mentioned, having a busy day job in visual effects means my release schedule for this podcast can be a bit irregular. So if you don't want to miss out, subscribe to The Naked Texture Artist wherever you get your podcasts. Or follow the podcast on the socials, then you'll be alerted when the next episode drops. The music in this episode was Awake by Tycho. Nick Sifoni helped put the sound together, and everything else was done by me, your host, Marque Pierre Sondergaard. Speak to you soon.